Hello, I'm here with Sagar Raut, HSSEQ Manager for Asia Pacific with Seadrill. Sagar presented at our recent webinar on drops inspections, surveys and audits. As we did not record this session, we're here again today to record the presentation for our YouTube channel and take some more time to answer questions posed by the audience. Welcome, Sagar. You'll have the mic and please share your screen.
Hi, Joachim. Thank you very much, and hello, everybody. As Joachim said, I presented this during our last webinar with Drops Asia. Drops inspection surveys and audits. What is Seadrill's approach? How does Seadrill manage the drops inspections, the surveys, and the internal and or external audits? With that, let me move on to my main slide. From my perspective, I have 4 different pillars that we focus on when it comes to drop surveys and inspections. The first one being our drop strategy, then the drop surveys, internal inspections, training and competence of internal and external inspectors and surveyors, and we'll touch base towards the end on some improvement opportunities within the industry, and we can take some questions. So when we talk about drop strategy, as most of you are aware, Seadrill's drop strategy booklet is available to download at the Drops Forum website, www.dropsonline.org. You can visit the website and download our drop strategy booklet for free. As part of the drop strategy, we have our corporate drops directive, which outlines the requirements that Seadrill has for the surveys as well as inspections. Why do I use 2 different names? We say surveys more for our external surveys done by approved third-party providers, and we use the term inspections more for our internal inspections done by our own competent people. Apart from the strategy and drops directive, we have the drops forum, which is more of onshore and offshore forum discussions around drops, prevention and mitigation of dropped objects, and how we can eliminate the dropped objects from our offshore fleet. Moving on, drop survey. The key requirement for us is to have annual drop survey by approved company on each of our installation. To aid that, as I said earlier, our drops directive clearly outlines what deliverables we expect from these surveys from third-party providers. We have global MSAs with a select few inspection or survey companies. As part of that, we want to have a pool of approved inspectors that have been verified and vetted by Seadrill, HSSEQ and operations technical team, so that we get consistency of the inspections and surveys. We want to ensure the training and awareness of the crew as part of the deliverables. The reason being, when we have the drop surveys, the key requirement is to raise the awareness of our crew. I mean, we get the, as part of the deliverables, we get the drops inspection checklist and the picture book, which I'll talk about in the next section. Then how to use those and best use of those tools, that on the job training, we expect our approved third-party providers to give to our offshore team. The last but not the least is the follow-up of the survey findings and the corrective actions, and that remains the key. How soon can the survey findings be corrected? If there are any low-hanging fruits that the survey team can close while they stay on board the rig, we encourage that, and we want them to do it. Couple of reasons: whether the access to the potential dropped object is the issue, and you might require rope access, for example, then we would prefer our survey team to close those items before they depart the rig. Apart from this annual drops inspection, we also have additional survey requirements. Just few examples at the end of the shipyard project. For example, before we reactivate a rig, once the shipyard project or the SPS is done, we will have a drop survey done by approved third-party provider. One of the deliverables, as I said, is the inspection checklist and the picture book. We take it and then we use that for our monthly inspections done by our internal competent people. We use the checklist and picture book as a live document. So it's not once done and then that stays the same for the next year till we get the next survey. But we want our DSLs and tool pushers and drillers and MSLs and deck pushers and crane operators to own those inspection checklists and the picture books and enhance them as they go through the monthly inspections. One key red flag during the drops inspections is familiarity with the structure. And to break that, what we encourage is cross-departmental drops inspections. Getting a marine guy climbing up the derrick, for example, with the AD or the derrickman, and bringing that extra pair of eyes to verify the drops inspections are being done and we are not missing anything. On top of that, we expect our senior offshore management, OIMs, DSLs, tool pushers, to take part and review the inspection checklist completed by the junior crew, as well as make their own inspection visits, audits at least once every hitch, so that we have additional supervisory pair of eyes going up the derrick especially, and picking up any missed potential dropped objects. Key to all this, whether it's external surveys or internal inspections, is the next point, which is drops training and competence. As part of that, we have Drops Train the Trainer, which is provided by Drops Online. Last year, we had Drops Train the Trainer for all our onshore HSE and offshore HSE team. And then the expectation was the HSE team will deliver this to our on-the-ground drops inspectors, whether it's your leader of necks, assistant drillers, and the others. Internally, on top of that, we have the dropped objects awareness e-learning, which is mandatory for our entire offshore population, and the dynamic dropped objects e-learning, which focuses more on the dynamic dropped objects than just the inspections. As part of our STAR observation program, which is our behavior-based safety program, we pick potential dropped objects as one of the one of the categories in the drops in our star cards. We do drops hazard hunts as part of our weekly and monthly hazard hunt programs, again led by the OIM with multiple departmental participation. And we try and focus on dynamic dropped objects more as part of our risk assessments, which are our day-to-day task-based risk assessment done by the team at the front line before starting any job. Why? Because if you look at the industry stats over the last few years, we see roughly between 70 to 80% of dropped objects being dynamic dropped objects, which has a lot more to do with human factors and how people interact and human machine interface. So to keep drops alive during our conversations and during our risk assessments is key to prevent or minimize those drops and or mitigate if something had to drop. Moving on, some of the improvement opportunities that I see in drops management, in inspection surveys and audits. We use, in the industry, there are multiple providers who do the drop surveys. What is lacking is a standardized output. We have tried to standardize Seadrill expectations as part of the deliverables. But I still think there is a gap between what different providers give as the deliverable. We expect consistent high quality inspections by trained and competent personnel provided by the third party companies. We would like to see some oversight from the industry forum, e.g. Drops Global or Drops Asia, our own forum, and then potentially increased focus on dynamic dropped object prevention and mitigation of the same. With that, I'm open to questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sagar. Perhaps if you could stop sharing your screen, and then we can get into the Q&A. All right. So I'll first start with the questions that were asked during the audits. So one of the questions was whether rope access is mandatory for third-party inspections.
Rope access is not mandatory, but it's desirable because a lot of potential dropped objects that we have to inspect are inaccessible. So rope access, having a rope access team as part of our drop surveys is an additional advantage. And more often than not, we will use rope access to access the inaccessible potential dropped objects.
Okay, so another question from the audience regarding the use of tablets, you know, those ruggedized inspections. Do you use that as part of your inspections?
We use tablets or EX-proof iPads for other inspections and our audits. We use them for our worksite verifications. We use them for our permit to work audits. For drops inspections, as of now, the answer is no. Again, the reason being across the globe, there are various survey companies that we use. And then if the standard output is different from company to company, then it becomes difficult to manage the picture books and checklist. But then in the best interest, if you have a standard deliverable across the field, or if you have one particular provider that guarantees that the surveys across the fleet, then potentially, yes, we would consider using tablets or EX iPads solution as we go more digital in our operations.
Yeah, and that I guess would also include kind of database-based checklist rather than Excel spreadsheets.
Absolutely, having the digital solution, whether it's tablets or iPads, will take away the manual Excel spreadsheets and checklist, and that's always a welcome sign to enhance on what we have, minimize the errors, and make sure we have robust inspection regime.
Okay, excellent. So you mentioned that you're kind of trying to minimize and the amount of companies working for you to standardize the output. What kind of pain points do you have, and you know, why are you looking to kind of almost single source this?
As I said earlier, one of the key pain points that I see from the operational / HSE perspective is variability of output, and then consistency of the deliverables, whether we are talking about consistency of quality of inspectors and or consistency of reporting. So you see, even if you go with the single company, the output differs on who you get on that particular time on your rig. And then when you look at the global operations, the output can vary from east to west. And that's what we are trying to minimize, if not completely fix, by going through a select few inspection companies.
So you kind of try to use a single company that has a consistent reporting structure, and then within those companies you approve certain inspectors that you know have a good deliverable.
Right now, the approach, and we are still in the process to finalize. The process is ongoing with our corporate supply chain team to have not one, but a few select providers who can deliver consistent high quality service. And then the next step would be to identify the consistent high quality delivering inspectors.
Okay. So we've been on lockdown for almost half a year now, I guess. And that includes the inability to travel. You're in Dubai as well, instead of being in Singapore. How does this affect the third-party inspections, and how do you see this developing in the coming months or years?
We are using more and more remote inspections. Drop surveys, I don't see, at least not in my part of world, we haven't deferred any drop surveys as such. But as we get closer to reactivating a rig in Southeast Asia, we will have to get the inspectors locally, and that becomes the key as we get used to the new normal, let's call it, to have local resources available than getting people from around the region or from across the region as well. So the key for me right now, especially with the lockdowns during the pandemic, is to have trained and competent inspectors available locally in country, whether it's Malaysia or Thailand in Southeast Asia or India.
What other technology do you think might aid the inspection kind of category in the long run?
I think few providers have come up with drone-based solution, drones to do the inspections as surveys, take the photos and log it. If it minimizes the risk of injury or property damage to our offshore population, I think that's a good initiative as we use technology to aid in running safe and efficient operations.
I think that's it. I think I have no more questions. Is there anything else you wish to add?
No, thank you for the opportunity, Joachim. It's always a pleasure to be part of the Drops Asia team. And if there are more questions from the audience, I'm happy to take offline as well.
Perfect. And so what we'll do is we'll put it on the YouTube channel. Actually, people are able to post their questions there. Now, Sagar won't be monitoring our YouTube channel every day, nor will I, but we'll come back to that from time to time, and then we'll answer the questions there.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sagar, and well, look forward to having you in our next webinar.
Thank you. Looking forward.